Hello everyone, my name is Keith Willett, and I'm here to talk to you today about time management. Time flows constantly. It is the force that guides our lives. It tells us when to eat, sleep, and wake up. It never stops and it never slows down. It's predictable, but it still slips through our fingers like an untamed river. But if we can learn to harness time, we can make it work for us rather than us working for it. So let's talk a little bit today about time management. Some of the topics that we're going to discuss include what is time management, where we'll talk about why it's needed and what it is exactly. It's not just looking at the clock periodically. Why is it important? I mean, don't many of us get through life without managing our time on purpose? Well, being intentional about time management can make the difference of a happy life, a successful life, and somebody who really finds that they're always late and never accomplishing everything that they want to do. We'll talk about a few techniques that you can use to manage your time most effectively. There's a lot of them out there, and we're just going to skim the surface here today, but it's good to get your feet a little bit wet. That's what we're going to do today. We'll discuss some of the available resources that are out there because, let's face it, we're living in the information age. Everything's at our fingertips today. So we're going to talk about the available resources that you have that you can use to manage your time effectively. And finally, we're going to sink our teeth in just a little bit deeper and talking about how to make the most of your time. That might be a little bit much for some of you, but it's worthy of mentioning. So let's go. What is time management? Well, time management is all about effectively using your time. It's a limitless resource, but it is scarce. If we're not intentional about how we want to use our time, then it's going to get away from us. It's about planning ahead, knowing what's to come, and being ready for it, and knowing how to schedule your events that are coming up. As things happen throughout the day, you might commit to certain events and then forget about them, and you end up looking like a fool later if you didn't write it down or schedule your known events. So that is one of the reasons that we're going to talk about time management today. And finally, one of the things that we'd like to really touch on is setting reminders, because it's incredibly important to remind yourself that there's something to do, not just that there's something to do and oh no, you forgot about it. It's a little bit too late at that point. So why is it important? Well, for one, it reduces stress. Just imagine being able to enjoy relaxing time because you've set it aside for yourself. You know that it's free time. You know that you don't have something else you should be doing because you planned for that, and that's coming up later. You'll work during work time, and you'll play during playtime. This affects your personal life, which includes your family, friends, and any other appointments you may have. Just imagine for a second forgetting your kid at soccer practice. A lot of parents have done it. Batman, Ben Affleck, has not. He shows up and picks his kid up from soccer practice. So, if an Academy Award-winning actor can make time to pick his kid up, maybe you can too. It also affects your professional life. So, if you have meetings or deadlines that you need to keep track of, it's really useful to use time management to make sure that you don't forget anything. It could make the difference between a successful career and an unsuccessful career. So what are some of the techniques that you can use to manage your time most effectively? Well, for one, there are the good old physical planners that you can carry around. These are books, calendars, anything like that. You write in it with a pen and it keeps track of everything that you have to do in the future. They're a little bit archaic. So, in walks the internet. Now we're talking. Those devices you carry around in your pocket or purse, smartphones, those can touch on this. The internet will keep track of anything that you need to do and help you manage your time most effectively. There are also spreadsheets for those super nerdy people like yours truly. They're useful in different ways than your online calendars because they allow you to do calculations and other things like that. Take notes about what you need to get done. So that's why they're on this list. Finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about Gantt charts. If you're unfamiliar with what a Gantt chart is, it's basically a bar graph that is overlaid onto a calendar. Those bars represent tasks that need to be done and who needs to get them done. They also represent the amount of time that you've allowed for them and gives everybody on a team the opportunity to see when it's expected to be completed. They're incredibly useful for managing large projects, and I highly recommend using them if you find yourself in that position. Some of the other available resources that we have today are these at-a-glance daily planners, which I just talked about, the physical books that you can carry around. Now, don't let the word daily throw you off here. There are limitless options. We're talking everything from an hour-by-hour planner to a weekly planner. Everything from a single person planner to managing an entire team of people. They're really, really useful, but again, it's a physical book that you have to carry around and write in yourself. So, if that's not for you, maybe a Google Calendar or some other web-based calendar would be more effective. They're online, they're accessible from any device that can get online, and they're also very useful in organizations for teams. People can see what other people have on their calendar to know what their availability is. Very, very useful, very easy to use, and free. Smartphone calendar apps are another thing that belongs on this list. Everybody out there can develop their own apps, and as a result, we found ourselves with an abundance of redundant apps. One of those things is the calendar apps. So if Google Calendars and your at-a-glance planners aren't really for you, maybe there's an app out there that would work better for your needs. And finally, like I mentioned, Microsoft Excel is incredibly useful if you want some more complex step-by-step instructions, calculations, notes, color coding, and other things of that nature. It's very useful, but it's pretty nerdy. So, what about making the most of your time? Well, consider the steps. If you look at a project, you can usually kind of get an idea of what needs to be done in what sequence, and how long each of those steps is going to take. If you plan the amount of time that you need to complete each step, you can find yourself at the end of the project totally complete with no stress about when you're going to get it done. If you automate what can be automated, you're going to find yourself with a whole lot more time. Now, not everything can be automated, but reminders almost always can, especially with smartphones and internet-based apps. So that will be your little vibrating phone in your pocket that you look at it and it says, oh, I have a doctor's appointment at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. You won't forget about that appointment because you set an automatic reminder. They're incredibly useful. If you write something down and forget to look at it, it's not going to do you any good. So reminders are just as important as scheduling the things in the first place. Second, you need to automate first and then work on what you need to do with your hands. Now what I mean by that is, well, say for example, you're in a professional speaking class in an online college, and while you're uploading your speech to the internet, perhaps you could be working on your participation post. That is called lean in the manufacturing world, and it gets a lot of work done without sacrificing any of the quality. So automate first and then start doing the things that are hands-on. It will get a lot of work done and use your time very, very effectively. You should periodically verify your timeline. This is for those projects that have multiple steps. So if you think that you're going to be at step 3 when you're actually at step 2, if you look at that during the project, you can calibrate and readjust. It's easier to do that toward the beginning of the project than scrambling at the end to figure out how to get it all done. Finally, you really, really need to have a backup plan. What I mean by this is, say for example, you're working on something that requires the internet. Well, what if the internet goes out? What are you going to do? You need to have a contingency plan. Mine, for example, is that I have a Wi-Fi hotspot based out of my cell phone. So if my internet goes out at home, I can use my cell phone data plan to upload whatever I need to do. So have a backup plan. It's very, very crucial. Things happen. You can't plan for everything. So to conclude, proper time management equals success. If you don't manage your time effectively, it will eventually bite you. You need to learn how to do this. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself struggling your way through life while others seem to get a whole lot of work done and you have no idea how. There are a lot of options available. The only thing keeping you from managing your time better is you. Practice makes perfect. Nobody starts out being good at anything at the beginning. You need to give yourself the opportunity to fail and to learn from your mistakes. Don't give up. You have to remember that you need to practice this. You got to take time to tame time. Be like Batman. Don't forget that kid at soccer practice and manage your time in the most effective way you can. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.